Don't try to change others, change yourself. But how much pain did Beethoven have to pay for to understand that? Listen to the whole story to see that peace doesn't come from the outside, but from the imprints you sow within your own heart. That night, Vienna was cold like a thin blade sliding across the skin. The wind dragged long strips of white mist around the black-tiled rooftops, slipping into narrow alleys like the aged breath of the city itself. On the square near the theater, the sound of horses' hooves and carriage wheels grinding against the stone pavement rang dry and sharp. People pulled their coats tight around their necks and hurried on. Everyone was busy living, busy making money, busy loving, busy hating. Only one man stood motionless at a street corner like a statue. He wore a wide-brimmed hat, his hair disheveled as if the wind had been battering it for a lifetime. His eyes were deep and dark, staring straight into the void. He was not looking at people. He was looking at something inside himself, a bottomless abyss. Passers-by recognized him and whispered, "Beethoven." In Vienna, that name was not merely a name. It was like a thunderclap, either intoxicating or deeply irritating. But tonight, Ludwig van Beethoven was not a genius. He was only a man nearing 40, trying to swallow a pain for which he no longer had a throat. He stepped into a tavern. The place was narrow and low, thick with the smell of tobacco and beer, heavy like a confession. The owner saw him and bowed his head, daring not to ask questions. Beethoven sat down, ordered a drink, then another, then another. In one corner of the tavern sat a stranger, a dark cloak, a tightly fastened collar, a gaunt face, and eyes gentle and strangely bright. The man did not drink alcohol, only warm water, his fingers moving slowly over a string of wooden prayer beads. When Beethoven slammed his glass on the table because someone laughed too loudly, the stranger did not flinch. He simply watched Beethoven quietly, like one watching a fire consuming itself. Beethoven frowned. "What are you looking at?" The stranger did not answer immediately. He placed the prayer beads down, tilted his head as if listening to something unseen, then spoke in fairly proper German, though with a curious tone. "I am watching. A storm." Beethoven let out a scornful laugh. "A storm? So what? Storms belong to the sky." The stranger smiled faintly. "Some storms are raised by ourselves." That single sentence, light as a feather, pierced straight into Beethoven's deepest wound. He jumped to his feet. The chair scraped loudly across the floor. His face flushed, whether from alcohol or wounded pride was unclear. "Who are you? Did you come here to preach?" The stranger bowed his head. "My name is Tenzin. I am passing through Vienna. I once lived in a monastery, very far away. People call me teacher, but truly, I am only someone practicing how to look at his own mind." Beethoven snorted and turned away. But at that moment, a child ran past the bar counter, tripped over Beethoven's chair, and fell, his head striking the floor. The tavern erupted in gasps. The boy screamed in pain. Beethoven was already irritated. He nearly shouted. But before he could, Tenzin was on his feet, swift as the wind. He knelt down, lifted the child, examined the wound, took a clean cloth, and bound it. No one asked. No one told him to. He acted as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Watching the scene, something suddenly stabbed at Beethoven's chest, a familiar pain he did not want to acknowledge: shame. Tenzin handed the child back to his mother, then returned to his seat. As he sat down, he spoke as if to himself, "One who sows seeds of compassion will harvest peace." Beethoven suddenly asked, his voice low, "What did you just say?" Tenzin looked at him. "I said every action leaves an imprint on the mind. Today I placed my hands on a wounded head. That imprint will remain in me, and if there is peace in my heart, I will sleep well tonight." Beethoven let out a short, bitter laugh. "Sleep well? What do you know about not being able to sleep?" He lowered his head, his voice breaking. "I don't sleep. I haven't for years." Tenzin did not ask why. He simply said, "Then you must be carrying many imprints in your mind." Beethoven fell silent for a long while. The alcohol burned down his throat, but the cold inside him remained untouched. Then he released it, as if unloading a burden. "I am losing my hearing." Tenzin nodded gently, not surprised. "That is painful." Beethoven laughed. "Painful? You call that pain? Imagine this. You write music. You live by music. You breathe music. And then one day, you hear everything as if through a wall, and the wall grows thicker, so thick that you can't even hear yourself clearly." He slammed his fist on the table. "Heaven wants to kill me, but it won't kill me quickly. It lets me live just to watch myself rot. Tenzin asked softly, "If heaven wanted to kill you, you would be dead, but you are still alive. Perhaps heaven wants you to see something else." Beethoven looked up, eyes burning. "What?" Tenzin met his gaze. "Your mind." That sentence left Beethoven choking. He wanted to explode, to hurl the glass across the room. But strangely, there was something in this man's eyes that made him unable to do so. Like a deep lake, the more one struggles, the deeper one sinks. Beethoven stood, threw money on the table. "Don't follow me." Tenzin simply nodded, but after a few steps, Beethoven turned back. Not because he wanted another drink, not because he regretted the money, but because he suddenly realized, if he left now, he would return to his cold room, sit alone with his deaf ears and a head full of screaming noise. He returned and spoke quietly, reluctantly. "If you are a teacher, then what do you teach?" Tenzin smiled. "I teach how to listen when there is no sound." Beethoven froze. That night, Beethoven did not go home right away. He and Tenzin sat in the corner of the tavern until the lights were turned off. Tenzin did not tell him to quit drinking, did not preach kindness, did not tell him to believe in Buddha. He only asked a few questions, touching wounds at exactly the right place. "Who do you hate the most?" Beethoven answered immediately. "Myself." Tenzin nodded. "Then you are beating yourself every day. What do you want to change most?" "I want the world to stop being unjust." "You can change your mind first. When your mind is calm, the world becomes less sharp." Beethoven sneered. "Sounds like a fairy tale." Tenzin said, "No, this is the hardest work of a lifetime." In the days that followed, Beethoven was still Beethoven. He was still irritable, still shouted at servants, still slammed the table when someone failed to understand him, still composed music like a man being chased by demons. But one thing was different. He began meeting Tenzin. Tenzin stayed in a cheap room near the Danube. He had little money, no fame, no power, only time and silence. When Beethoven went there for the first time, he looked as though he had come to start a fight. "You said you'd teach me to listen without sound. Teach me." Tenzin pointed to a chair. "Sit." Beethoven sat, his back taut like a drawn string. Tenzin placed a ceramic bowl on the table and poured water. "Look at the water." Beethoven frowned. "I didn't come here to learn how to look at water." Tenzin replied calmly. "If you cannot look at a bowl of water, you cannot look at yourself." Beethoven wanted to jump up, but he remained seated. "You hear the water with your eyes. You hear vibration with your skin. You hear presence with your mind." Beethoven scoffed. "I am a musician, not a magician." Tenzin asked, "Do you write music with your ears or with your mind?" Beethoven stiffened. He recalled recent days when his fingers touched the piano, when he could not hear clearly, yet still knew which note was wrong, which rhythm faltered. He still felt music somewhere deep inside. Beethoven fell silent. "Your music is not dead," Tenzin continued. "Only one sensory door has closed. Others have opened, but you are too angry, so you shut them all." Beethoven hissed. "What do you know about my anger?" Replied gently. "I know, because I was once angry too. I once wanted to smash the entire world. Then I realized the world didn't break, only my hands bled." Beethoven said nothing. For the first time in many years, he was truly silent. Then the drama of Beethoven's life, like a hailstorm, began to fall relentlessly. One day, a wealthy patron visited Beethoven. Rich, powerful, accustomed to flattery, he wanted Beethoven to write a light, pleasant piece for his banquet. Beethoven, genius and arrogant, refused. He shouted. The nobleman's face reddened. He threw money on the table and said a sentence sharp as a blade. "A genius is still a parasite, Beethoven. Without us, what are you?" The words struck like a slap. Beethoven could not speak. Not from fear, but because they hit his deepest insecurity, the fear that he was nothing without music, applause, fame. The nobleman left. Beethoven remained, gasping as if strangled. He clenched the score and tore it apart. Then he ran to Tenzin's room. He pounded the door, hard enough to break it. Tenzin opened. Beethoven stormed in like a hurricane. "Did you hear that? Do you know what they think I am? A dog that knows how to compose." Tenzin asked. "Does it hurt because of what they said, or because you believe it?" Beethoven froze. "If someone throws mud at you," Tenzin continued, "you don't need to pick it up and smear it on your own face." Beethoven laughed bitterly. "Easy for you to say. You have nothing to lose." Tenzin looked straight at him. "I have my mind to lose." Beethoven cursed. But he could not deny it. What he was losing every day was precisely that, his mind. Tenzin poured tea and offered it. Beethoven did not drink. His hands trembled. Look at anger as you would a crying child, Tenzin said. It screams because it hurts. If you punch it, it screams louder. If you hold it, it slowly quiets. Hold anger? Beethoven snarled. Yes. Don't be its slave. Don't let it write music for you. Beethoven stared at his hands. For years, those hands had created music that made Europe bow. Those same hands had smashed chairs, torn manuscripts, wounded those who loved him. I don't know how, he whispered. Start with one small thing, Tenzin replied. Each day, perform one act of compassion, even if you don't want to. It will leave an imprint. Compassion? I'm no saint. No need to be a saint, Tenzin said. Just be human. The next day, Beethoven did something strange. He passed the alley where an old woman sold bread. Children mocked her. The wealthy shoved her aside. In the past, Beethoven had scolded her for being slow. Today, he stopped. He reached into his pocket and bought the entire basket. The woman stared. You're buying all of it? Beethoven frowned, unaccustomed to gentleness. Go home early. Her hands trembled as she took the money, tears welling. Beethoven turned away immediately, as if afraid of being seen as soft. After walking a short distance, he slowed. In his chest, not lighter yet, but a small space opened, like a curtain pulled aside to let light in. That night, for the first time in many years, Beethoven slept a little longer. Only a little, but enough to know Tenzin was not telling fairy tales. The next drama came from love. Beethoven had unsent love letters, words written to a woman he called his immortal beloved. In his life, love always came with pain, class, pride, a temper like fire. He loved deeply, and because he loved deeply, he frightened people. One night, he received news. She was about to marry another nobleman. The news struck like a hammer. Beethoven wandered like a lost soul. He stood beneath her window in the drizzle, imagining her in a white dress, smiling at another man. His ears were deaf. Yet in his mind, her laughter rang like bells. He wanted to knock, to drag her away, to shout, I am the one who understands you. Then he remembered Tenzin's words. Do not try to change others. Change yourself. Beethoven stood there, fists clenched until they bled, and he did nothing. He turned away and walked home in the rain. That night, he went to Tenzin's room. He did not pound the door, only knocked softly. I lost, he said. Lost to whom? Tenzin asked. To life. No, Tenzin said. You only lost the desire to possess. To love without possessing. What is that? Beethoven asked. To love is to wish the other peace, even without you. Your words cut like knives. Knives cut to drain pus. Without cutting, infection spreads. Beethoven collapsed into a chair like an abandoned child. I don't know how to be at peace. Peace is not something others give you, Tenzin said. It is something you plant in your own mind. I plant fire, Beethoven said. Always fire. Then today, Tenzin whispered, plant one seed of water. Then came the greatest drama, one that nearly dragged Beethoven back to his old self, his nephew. Beethoven's brother had died, leaving a son. Beethoven fought for custody, believing he could raise the boy well. But life did not obey him. The boy grew up under pressure, an uncle who was a genius but volatile, strict, controlling. Cut off from friends, forced to study, forbidden freedom. He began to lie, to sneak away, to rebel. When Beethoven discovered this, he exploded, overturning tables, throwing notebooks, shouting until hoarse, even though he could barely hear his own voice. The boy stared at him with hatred. Do you raise me because you love me, or because you want to prove you're a good person? The words stabbed his heart. The boy left. Days later, news came. The boy had attempted suicide. He shot himself. The bullet narrowly missed. Beethoven felt drained of blood. He ran to the hospital, stood by the bed, looking at the pale face, empty eyes. He wanted to cry, but no tears came. I'm tired, the boy whispered. Beethoven stumbled into the hallway, slid down the wall like a man whose legs had been shattered. Tenzin appeared, sat beside him in silence. I killed him, with love, Beethoven gasped. No, Tenzin said. You hurt him because you didn't know how to love correctly. I gave him money, a home, a future. You gave him what you wanted. You did not give him what he needed, understanding. I don't know how to understand. No one ever understood me. Then today, Tenzin said gently, you begin by understanding yourself. Every action leaves an imprint on the mind. You left anger's imprint on his. Now you can begin leaving compassion's. How? Apologize. I'm his uncle. I raised him. Apology does not make you smaller, it makes the ego smaller. That night, Beethoven entered the boy's room. He sat by the bed. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "For what?" the boy asked. "For loving you wrongly, for wanting you to be my reflection, for forgetting that you are you." The boy turned. Tears fell. He did not say, "I forgive you." He only cried. But that crying, to Beethoven, was music. Not music of the ears, but music of the heart. From then on, Beethoven changed in ways no one expected. He was still hot-tempered. But when anger arose, he began to watch it, like watching storm clouds pass over a mountain. He did not always win. Sometimes he still shouted. But afterward, he returned, apologized, fell silent, placed his hand on his chest as Tenzin taught, breathing slowly, and he began to write a piece of music. Not merely a composition, but a prayer. He wrote during nights when he could not hear the piano, only feel vibration in his bones. He wrote while snow fell outside, while pain from love, pride, and life still lingered inside. When Tenzin visited and saw the towering stack of manuscripts, he asked, "What are you writing?" "Joy," Beethoven replied, eyes shining. "What kind of joy?" "Joy that does not need sound." In the final drama, the premiere night, the theater was packed. People waited for genius, for brilliance, for true Beethoven. Few knew that by then he was almost completely deaf. He stood on stage conducting. He watched the musicians, followed their movements, listened with his eyes. The symphony rose. The audience held its breath. At the final movement, the music burst forth like the sun breaking through clouds. The crowd leapt to its feet. Applause thundered. But Beethoven did not hear. He kept facing the orchestra, turning pages, conducting as if still inside the music. A singer approached, touched his arm, turned him toward the audience. Beethoven saw the entire hall standing. He stood still. In that moment, everything paused. Fame, money, insults from nobles, unsent love letters, the gunshot that nearly killed his nephew. Only one thing remained. A man standing before a sea of people whose mind was suddenly quiet. Tears streamed down Beethoven's face, not from pride, but from understanding. All these years, he chased sound outside, and loss had forced him inward to discover another music, the music of compassion and release. After the performance, Beethoven did not celebrate. He walked through the cold streets to the Danube. Tenzin stood there as if waiting. "They applauded," Beethoven said hoarsely. "You saw," Tenzin replied. "But I didn't hear. Do you regret it?" Beethoven paused, then shook his head. "No." "Why?" He placed a hand on his chest. "Because I hear here." Tenzin smiled, fingers moving over prayer beads. "Then you understand. Every action leaves an imprint on the mind. You left anger's mark for too long. Today, you left compassion's. One who sows compassion will harvest peace." Beethoven watched the river flow. "I thought life took everything from me," he said softly. "But perhaps life only took away the noise, so I could hear what matters." The wind passed. Mist drifted. Street lamps flickered. Beethoven stood there, a man who could no longer hear the world, yet for the first time was no longer driven mad by it. And within him, a new music began, one that needed no stage, only peace. Thank you for staying until this moment. If this story has helped you feel a little lighter, please subscribe to the channel so that we can meet again in the quiet of the night, in the peace.